Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! Yeah, so Starlight is out here. I hope you're getting out in nature. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel and also you can leave me a message down below, beep beep beep, and you could share my videos with your family or friends, a cat, a dog, and you can also check out my playlist. Plus, you can find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. So hang on, Starlight's got to grab her yoga mat so I don't forget it out here. And because Starlight couldn't do that spin, I could do that spin with the yoga mat, but I decided not to. So anyway, I already made this video, but I accidentally deleted it. So that happens with Starlight sometimes. So anyway, I'm out here, and today's video is about, who do you serve as a god? There's lots of gods out there, lots of gods. We are what I call little gods, children of God, but because we're like our Father, at least we can be like our Father in heaven. So God, the universe. So anyway, today's video is about, who do you serve as a god? And before I do this, I forgot all about, I want to say a big, huge thank you to all of you who have been here loving and supporting Starlight. And thank you for those of you who send Starlight love on her Cash App. Boing, boing, boing. Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you so much. And if anybody else would like to send some love to Starlight through Cash App, you can, and I will have the information there. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you out there who gave Starlight some extra love on Cash App. And also, thank you for all of you who make it possible. And we need each other whether you like it or not. And thank you for all of you who've been here from the beginning all the way to now. Maybe you just joined. Thank you for being here. And I tell you what, I had a wonderful morning. I've been meeting with a lot of people, and what a day this morning has been. And I praise God for that, because it's not me, it's about God. And God just uses me. I'm just willing to be used. So thank you, God, for the way this morning went, helping other people out. And anyway, saying that, is I want to say a big, huge thank you to all of you who watch my videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel, give me a thumbs up, or leave me a message down below. Yes, you too. And who share my videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Now, back to what I was saying is about what God do you serve? There's lots of gods, and I'm not going to list them all because there's so many of them. Starlight wouldn't even know where to start. But, because Christmas is coming, November is coming up right around the corner, so that was my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving, time to spend with family and friends and eat. Who doesn't like to eat, right? Starlight loves to eat. So anyway, because Christmas is coming, and I do videos like this every year, so get used to it, is because, yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and I could do whatever I want with it, right? So some people might get offended, some people might not like it, and that's okay. We are family, and it doesn't mean that we're going to always like and agree to everything, and that's absolutely okay. So who do you serve as a god? And like I said, I made the video before, and I worship God, the Creator, the most holiest, loving God, the most forgiving, loving God, the Creator. His Son died on the cross for our sins, so don't forget that. That's the God I worship. So, I don't know what God you serve, and it's your business. But I'll tell you what, I am happy right where I am, because I have a wonderful relationship with God, the universe, and so, like I said, there's a lot of gods out there, and there's a lot of things in the Bible it says not to do, that we are not supposed to do. And I had people a long time ago that kept on giving me angels. I had so many angels in my apartment, I don't worship angels, even though I pray to the archangels, but I don't worship them. God is my ultimate, creator. I am grateful in my life to have God and to teach me lessons in my life and help me to find out who I am and teach me the truth in this world. So I am so grateful for all the many, many blessings that I receive every day, every day. There's, amazing things that are happening in my life. I don't know about yours, but because Christmas is coming, I'm going to show you. This is, to me, is a mess, but I'm just amazed. Like somebody used to do this out here, and now they moved away, and now somebody else is going to take care of this big mess. But it's a whole bunch of decorations starting in this area here, and I just kind of, who would have thought, coming out of the woods that you'd bump into this. So yeah, so there is lots of Christmas decorations. They've been busy out here because some of the decorations was on the right hand of this road, and so they're shifting them around, they're moving them around somehow or another out here. And so yeah, I did see people here earlier, and that's why I didn't make a video earlier, but these decorations, whoever was doing this, what God do you think they were in? Because Santa Claus, that, where that came from, Santa Claus, Starlight and the Snowman, I don't have a beef with Frosty the Snowman, that was a cartoon growing up with, but some of you have definitely heard Starlight's story about being lied to when she was a kid, about Santa Claus, and it devastated me. It really did. It ruined my childhood was really, really, really bad. And when it came down to being lied to about, the Santa Claus and the reindeer, bringing presents to the house, and if I was good, Santa Claus would come, and then the Tooth Fairy, and then the Easter Bunny, and so I didn't know it was wrong until I got older and I started going to church. And then, when I started going to church, then I was learning how that was all wrong. It was like, it was devastating as a child, when parents are supposed to tell, be an example to your kids, right? So are you, what kind of parent are you? Are you that person that, is going to celebrate Christmas, the way your parents did, and lie to your children? Or are you going to be that parent that tells your children the truth? It's all up to you. I can't tell you what to do. Is that it was devastating for me. It really caused a bigger problem in my family as far as trust goes, and so was Starlight an honest girl when she was growing up? Absolutely not. But, where do kids learn how to lie? Sometimes I wonder, where do we learn that from? How do we learn how to lie when we're little kids? Sometimes little kids learn it on their own, but later on, it's so really wise all the time with your kids to be honest. And that was the biggest lie I told my kids when they were growing up was, about the holidays, and I felt really bad when I went to church. So I got right with God, and then I ended up, and it was a nightmare because I didn't make a lot of money. I was working at Burger King, had 2 kids, only making $8, didn't have a car. When I got my big 10-cent raise, I was like, you've got to be kidding me, and I felt like 3 people doing, only getting 1 person pay at that job, so what kind of God do you worship? Do you worship the God of this world? The God of this world. Who is the God of this world? A lot of people might think God is the God of this world. What happened after God went to sleep? God went to sleep on the 7th day and he rested. But a lot of shit happened after that. So the God of this world is not the God that I worship, because that's how the Santa Claus and all this stuff, it was to take you away from the real reason why we celebrate Christmas. It wasn't because the Santa Claus, that stuff gets purposely put in our life. See, this was all, now they definitely have been busy out here, because this was, a lot of these weren't like this last time. So you all have a choice to which God, and this is a big, huge problem why the world is the way it is, because there's a lot of people worshiping false gods. And it does say in the Bible that God is a jealous God, because, imagine that you created something and somebody else wants to take credit for all your work. When you kind of get upset too, is after you did all the work and somebody else comes in there and says, hey, I'm gonna take credit for everything you did, and I'm gonna do this, and because there's a lot of people in the world, they think they can do a better job than God. So I knew people like that. They're like, and it is something. You could have people throughout your life questioning your God that you have, whether it's the same God I have or a different God. Well, how come God? Because this has happened many times with people that I knew, whether friends or family or strangers, is like, what kind of God would let all this happen in the world? And so I'll tell you what, I had people challenge me through my life about what God I worship, and a lot of times I was growing and learning, not really knowing how to answer those people, and so what God do you serve? Are you ready to decorate, and have Santa Claus in your house with a Christmas tree? Where did all these things come from? And Starlight doesn't care what you do, but it's really about the relationship with God. And if you're lying to your children is where I have a problem, because you don't have to answer to me when you end this world. It's God that we're gonna. If you don't believe in God now, you will before you take your last breath in life. So there's a lot of lies and deceit going on in the world, and if you have never read your Bible, you will find it out. But then what Bible to read, right? Because even that has been, a trick out there, is to change the Word of God and, be sly with the words that is in the Bible, the other kind of Bibles. So it's up to you what kind of God you worship, whether you worship the Creator or the God of this world that has Santa Claus, because whoever is in the middle of this big mess, I doubt that they would actually have God in their life, because materialism is not about the God creator, so materialism is not what God. It's okay to want things and desire things, but when you think of all the money that all this out here, how much money did this cost, to have all these out here? How long did it take for somebody, imagine, when you drive down the road, people get upset because people want their money, but then, in the holidays, they you could tell, who's who by just driving down the road. They could say that they're a Christian and then see a whole bunch of like Santa Claus decorations outside the house. That would be a big indicator to me, depending on how long they've been out here. Like I said, long time ago, I didn't know God though. I was a baby in the Lord. I got saved. I didn't know God. I started going to church and I was being taught. And once I found out the truth, then I stopped lying to my kids. Are you going to have big presents like this coming up this year? For your kids? Because it is a joke. It's a big money-making system for companies to make money. Even people that make all these decorations, everybody's like, yeah, we're there's people out there, they do this, purposely because, they know that there's things that go on in the world just to see if they can get God angry, to toy with God, and to get all the people out there to worship a different God, so all this cost a lot of money. And now I'm thinking, whoever's got this big mess to, you could not freaking pay me to do this job. Somebody's got to come out here, organize this big mess that somebody left behind because somebody moved away, and somebody else is going to take their place and to put this all up. For how long is this going to stay out here? And it keeps people locked, like the Matrix. It keeps you locked in to worship a false god. It takes your money away. There's families out there, they don't even have money to live by every month. And now they created this false god out here, Santa Claus, for everybody to worship, to take away from God. Really, that's what I was taught, is it's to turn you, instead of focusing on the real reason why we're here, is to, instead of, thinking about Jesus being born around that time at Christmas, is so then we could sit there and spend money that we don't have and buy gifts for people that don't give a shit, and that I was so upset when I was younger, buying gifts for people, the stress level that I had inside of me of going out, really not having any money at those years, having 2 kids, and what do you say to your kids when you don't have any money and, Christmas is coming up and you've lied to them and told them that Santa Claus, you got to be good or Santa Claus is not coming. And so what do you do when your kids were good? They were really good. They worked so hard. You kept on telling them, hey, you better be good or Santa Claus is not coming, because that was told to me all the time when I was growing up. And then, imagine that you don't have the money to go out. And then, it is so sad how this goes, because now what ends up happening is that the community, because this big fat lie about people lying to their kids about Santa Claus, and all these stores, they want to keep on doing this, lying to the kids on the radio, lying to the kids on the TV, lying to the kids out in the public places, all these places, restaurants, libraries, all kinds of places. When they decorate and you see Santa Claus in there, and all these, all this stuff about Christmas, with not about Jesus, even the churches are getting like this. Even the churches are going around and, they're being like the world. Do you think God's really pleased with all that stuff? Is having 2 masters, having 2 gods, trying to pull people in from the world, but then turning into the world to pull them in? I've seen that over and over again when I used to go to church. They were upset. They wanted to get kids and families to come to the church, but it was a big battle because the world was pulling them out, pulling them away from God and getting them into all kinds of other things. So then the churches were trying to, compete with the worldly stuff, and trying to be like the world to suck them into the church so they can get the people's money, and how, not having the faith in God, that God's gonna, that's the whole thing, is to go to church and act like, have faith in God, but then to go be like the world and to do the things of the world, and not even really trust in God, that God is going to help them through all that stuff. And so you really got to ask yourself, what God do you serve? Do you serve 2 masters? Do you have 2 masters? Do you go to church and go there and put the mask on and, act like, yes, I love God, be fake in the church, put that mask on at the church building, act like, you're all about God and all about Jesus and all about, worshiping God, even get together, near Christmas time at the church, and might have like a little Christmas party at the church, which I don't even know why. But, people will have all kinds of reasons, why they're having a Christmas party at the church. I actually was taught something a long time ago, and I said, you know what, that I don't mind. What about having like a little Christmas party at the church where you just go out and the church actually helps out people in need, and do something for the church building or something, for Jesus. Give back to Jesus, that, when Jesus, gave his life for us, instead of thinking about ourselves, and giving to people that have so much, and then they get what they, you buy them a gift, and that happened to me with not just once, and I know it's happened to you somewhere. My dad and I, we put our money together to buy somebody a gift. I wasn't even celebrating Christmas anymore, but this person got me back into the freaking Christmas spirit. I get back in the Christmas spirit, go out and take the money that I worked hard for, split that money with somebody else. We put our money together, bought this person the gift that they wanted. This is what I want. Get them the gift, and they never used it. They opened it up and complained. That's all they did. They complained about the gift. And I'm like, it was a big lesson again. I'm like, smack, Starlight. And so I realized, I am done with Christmas. I'm done with going out, But a lot of people, they go to church and they go there and act like they're all about God. And then they go home later on and they have grandkids and they go home and now they're going to celebrate with the grandkids. How are you celebrating with the grandkids? Is it because of God? Is it because of Jesus' birthday? Celebrating Jesus' birthday? I never understood that. If it's Jesus' birthday, why are we getting all the gifts? It never made any sense. Why are we getting all the gifts? I asked that question over and over again. Why are we all getting the gifts? Why, wouldn't it be amazing that everybody just kind of went out and did something to help other people in need for Jesus? Instead of, thinking about ourselves and giving it to people that don't even appreciate it, where there's people that are homeless that could use gifts. There's families that don't have a lot of money that they could use gifts for their kids, maybe some clothes for school, maybe some socks and underwear. So it's up to you what God you serve, and but you only can have, in the Bible it says you only can serve one master. And so what master are you serving today? Is it, when Christmas comes, where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? Is it, did you already buy a whole lot of presents, and wrapping paper for all these relatives? And think of the stress level you wouldn't be under anymore if you said, you know what? I am tired of this. It's a big money-making thing. Imagine all the companies out there. They're all excited to lie to the kids. Put Santa Claus pictures everywhere. Everywhere. Even the towns, they have, they might have lights or a tree, decorate tree. All the money that gets put into lying to the kids. Imagine if we took all that money, we could really, let's put all of our money together and, help out people that need it. Help out the homeless people, Instead it gets wasted on stuff like this, reindeer. Where's that fat Santa Claus out here? So Starlight would like to go over there and kick him in the nuts. But is that really going to help anything? No. But it's wise, not your children, and tell them the truth. But, and this is what people do, though. They tell their kids the truth, and then they still go out and, they know the truth. But it's like that same energy that they still get gifts, and do they even really need those gifts? There's kids that have plenty enough. They didn't really need any gifts, but it really traps people into thinking that they got to follow along on this thing, that you can't, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, like having with Santa Claus and the reindeer, that you're the odd one. Really? I'm the odd one because I don't celebrate with a lie? It's a big money-making system, It's about getting your money. They don't care where you get the money from. There's a lot of families that don't have the money, and they will take their hard-earned money and buy gifts to their families, and they're taking it from their bill money, from their rent money. They didn't have the money to go out and buy those gifts, but now they're going to take their food money, rent money, their car payment money, wherever the money that they can get. They might even borrow money, work extra hours for that money, just so then other people get rich on this holiday. So that's what fumes me up, the whole lies and the stress level that it causes so many people. That was Starlight. It's Christmas. Childhood memory. I'll tell you, it was something. It's up to you what you're going to do. You know, God does, you know, God gave you a free will. You can do whatever you want. But you wonder why things happen in your life, because if you're serving other gods, that's, you know, that's your own business. But I'm here because I serve God, the creator. You know, Jesus died on the cross for us, you know, to help us, you know, and I believe that if you're going to do anything is just to give back to Jesus, you know, give back to, you know, help people out. You see somebody on the streets that don't have any place to, maybe they don't even have a sleeping bag. Imagine if people went and got some sleeping bags for those homeless people, and instead of buying gifts for family members that family members don't even appreciate. They got so much money they don't even need that shit. So anyway, I do love you, and I'm sorry about this loud noise out here. It would be, yeah, so I love you, but please don't lie to your kids. Tell them the truth. That's my whole point of all of this. You could do whatever you want, you're going to do, and I want you to do whatever you're going to do. But, you know, teach your children the truth, you know, teach them that it's a lie. Don't lie to your children, because you know what? This is why this big mess is out here, you know. Somebody's got to come out here and put all this, you know, set this all up. And I'll tell you what, I'm definitely glad I'm not the one out here to do this job. It would, you know, it's a big mess. So anyway, I love you so much. It's your choice. Do what you're gonna do, and but please don't lie to your children. You know. And anyway, this is Starlight. You could give this video a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below. Beep beep beep, and you could share this video with your family, your friends. How about your kids? Let your kids know. Yeah, the whole town. Everybody's lying to you. Wake up, you know. I was so devastated when, you know, I was sticking up for Santa Claus. No, he's real. What a freaking smack in the head, you know? What a smack in the head. People would rather believe a lie than the truth. You know, then you tell them the truth, that this is an illusion out, you know, not that the trees are an illusion or planet Earth, but you know how this junk out here is an illusion. They won't be able to believe that. But they'll believe Santa Claus coming down your chimney, you know, how did he get down there anyway? You know, have the same wrapping paper, you know, as mom and dad, you know. They would rather believe that kind of a lie than the real truth that you've been lied to. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.